We're gonna give a quick tutorial on how to skin raccoons, or at least how we do it. So today we caught a couple raccoons. It's a 17-pound female, and we're working through all our fur in the fur shed. So when I'm getting ready to skin a raccoon, there's a couple things I wanna have on hand. I wanna have a nice fur comb, a couple knives. I use this kind of my go-to knife. It's just a basic skinning knife. And then I have this cheap old paring knife. You can see how much I've sharpened it. I use this around the face when I'm gonna be close to bones. Keep a knife sharpener on me. And then a tail stripper. If you don't have a tail stripper, a clothespin's gonna do just fine. I also recommend a pair of gloves and a shirt or a jacket that you don't care about, because this is gonna get kind of involved in the process. So the first thing that we're gonna do is clean up that raccoon. This might be one of the most important parts of the process. We're gonna dry it all down, and we're gonna give it a combing. You know, each animal that's caught in a foothold or is caught live needs to be dispatched. You're gonna have some blood around the face. Make sure that you wipe that off, and then I'm gonna comb it out really good. You can tell this is a female because the vulva is low down by the anus. If this was a male, you'd have a penis that was up here kind of at the base of the belly. So we're gonna comb this and then flip it over. Again, cleaning off the head. It's gonna be messy if you're dispatching animals. It's just part of the process, but we wanna try and make sure we get as much as that off during this part of the process, and then wipe it down. You want that fur to be dry and give it a nice combing. You can see how much better that raccoon looks already. And we're looking for burrs or any type of things that they might have gotten from their environment, and we're just gonna comb them out really good. Once that animal's clean, I'm gonna start by making 4 cuts, one around each of the paws, and this is the only time that you're gonna cut this way through the fur. Any other time that you're cutting, you're gonna want your knife to be under the skin coming up, but for this specific cut around that paw, we're gonna go through the fur. You wanna have a really sharp knife for this. It's gonna save you a lot of time. Some people are really good at sharpening knives and keeping knives sharp. I'm not one of those people, so I just use a cheap knife sharpener. This one right here, just a pull through, and you'll see me sharpen this a couple times throughout the video. So all 4 paws, these paws up here, this is kind of preemptive work for later. Once we get the pelt down around those front paws, we'll be able to just pop it off. Once those are all skinned, the next thing is your opening cut. So where the back fur meets the belly fur, you can kind of see a separation right about here. You always want to err when you're making this first cut on the side of belly fur. You'd rather have belly fur on the back fur instead of back fur on the belly fur, because this is the stuff that they use in making garments. So I'm going to come with my knife right along that line. And again, remember I said those last cuts are the only ones going up and down. I'm going underneath the skin, and I'm cutting it towards the anus. I'm then going to come up and I'm going to connect this up around the top of the vulva, come down and make the same cut on the other side. So coming up, if this was a male, there would be a set of testes right here, and you're coming just above the testes. Come down to here, and then I'm going to swap and do that same cut again on this side. Again, making sure that I have a little bit of that belly fur on the back side, if you're not exactly sure where to make that cut. Once I get that cut done, I'm just going to open this up a little bit, just enough to expose these 2 legs, because I'm going to hang it next. So I only need to get it to there so that my hanging tool can get on top of it, or can get right on top of the meat, and it won't be trapping the fur in. Just open this up a little bit. Once I have that exposed, next I'm going to hang it. The gambrel that I use is one of these dog chain gambrels. I find it easy because it works on all sorts of different paws and different sizes. And I'm going to hang it up here on my winch. Now I have an electric winch. It's really handy for keeping things right at working level, but it's not a necessity by any means. So my next cut's going to be right at the base of the anus where the tail meets it. I'm going to pinch some fur, come underneath, and just make a little incision. Once I have that incision, I'm going to connect this up around to that first cut that I made up above the vulva. So you're going to leave this little patch of fur on the animal. I'm just gonna open this up a little bit so we can see what we're doing, and then again on the other side. So you'll have a triangle that's left around those parts. And then I'm just gonna start working around the legs. And the whole concept of skinning an animal, I wanna peel this skin back. You see this bit of connective tissue here between the fat and the skin. I'm slicing that. And I'm using different parts of my knife. If I have a big long cut, I'm using that full knife. But if I'm just making little cuts, I'm just using the tip of my knife. So you'll kind of see me switch back and forth between those. There's a little bit of a pinch point where this back leg comes down to the tail. So again, I'm just peeling this back. And you want to err on the side of making your cuts into the actual leg instead of into the hide. So if you can't figure out exactly where it is, it's okay to leave a little bit extra fat on this because you'll take this off later during the fleshing process. And I'm just gonna work around that leg. I'm using my hand, I'm grabbing the pelt, and I'm rotating it out and just cutting that connective tissue. Now, once you get on the front side here, the belly, the abdomen is pretty thin. So you just kind of want to slow down and take your time. There's that abdomen right there. And you don't want to cut into that. And if you don't cut into it, it'll make the next part, the big part where you're peeling it off, a lot easier. Now I'm going to start working on the tail. So I want to expose the base of the tail. And this tail comes and connects to the body here. So it's kind of a pocket underneath where I'm going underneath the tail. Then back on the other side. And once I can kind of get my finger through that, I'm going to actually skin the tail. Now, skinning the tail can be daunting, but just take your time. I'm going to draw an imaginary line right down the base of that tail, so I'm on the bottom side of the tail. And I'm going to pull all the fur back, and I'm going to hold it with my hands. I'm going to make a little incision coming straight down, cutting right down towards the bone. Don't try to do big, long swaths. Just do an inch at a time. Go down a little bit, another little swath. And the challenging part here is that this tail is cylindrical, so your knife wants to jump off either side, but just little short bits. And I'm only going to skin down about 3/4 the way down the tail. And then next, I'm going to start peeling this back. And again, that tail is cylindrical, so I don't want to cut straight down. I'll be cutting into my leather. Kind of want to cut at a little bit of a scouring angle. And I'm just going to get this separated off the edge a little bit. I'm going to flip it around. I'm right-handed here, so I'm using my left hand to, again, I'm rotating it off that cylindrical bone and just kind of going with the bone. If you're left-handed, it'll be opposite. Once I get it kind of separated to that point where I can see that bone, I'm going to come underneath at the base, get my hand under, and start to apply some pressure downward. It'll start peeling off a little bit. Now I'm going to take my knife and just really slowly trim that connective tissue. You want to be careful not to cut into the tail here. That's kind of the easiest part to nick it is right here. I'm just going to go slow until I get this right to where that tail is bobbed, where it's the bone meets the tail. I highly recommend a tail stripper. They're really handy, but if you don't have one, I'm going to show you how you can do this with just a clothespin. Put that round portion of the clothespin over the tail. I'm grabbing my hands around it like such. I'm going to take my left hand and pull at the tail this way while I'm pulling my clothespin this way. And I'm not grabbing on that clothespin, but it's enough to keep it closed. I'm just going to pop it out. And now when it comes time to fleshing the animal, you'll cut the remainder of this, open it up, and remove all that fat. But now that we have the tail, I'm going to bring it up. And this is why I recommend having a shirt you don't care about. That's what this is from, is this motion right here. I'm going to hold the tail in this hand. My elbow is going to come here, and I'm going to peel down. Now I just did a lot of work really, really quickly. Now I'm going to go around to the abdomen and just, again, peeling. This wants to come off, but I'm just going to help it with a knife a little bit, looking for that separation between the pelt and the actual belly. And once I get that down a little bit more, come back over here, do it again, and boom, all of a sudden we're all the way down to our front legs. So that's a way that it can go, it speeds it up a little bit, makes it go quicker. Now we're coming into those front legs, and you can kind of feel them with your hands. Don't be afraid to feel the anatomy of the animal while you're skinning it. I'm gonna put my hand under the pelt so I can feel where the pelt is connecting to the body, start to peel away. And I like to start on that belly side, so I'm going in between those front shoulders up towards the neck. And I'm just gonna get in there a little bit. I don't wanna go too far. You'll see there's some veins in here that sometimes you'll cut. If you do, just keep a rag handy. Once I get that exposed a little bit, I'm gonna come back around to the back and I'm pulling down on this while I'm skinning with this knife. Again, just cutting at that seam. The pressure is really key. You can start to see that front shoulder show up. A little bit of blood here. You can start to see that front shoulder show up on both sides. This is kind of a tricky part if you're just learning how to do this. But again, don't be afraid to feel the anatomy. I can feel that leg there. And think of it, the pelt goes all the way around that leg and I need to remove it. So I'm actually gonna hold the leg up and start to kind of skin in between that. I'm actually going between the leg and the pelt, heading back towards this side that I opened up. Let me clean this up a little bit. I like to keep my pelts as clean as possible while I'm doing this because it makes the fleshing easier later if it's nice and creamy. So again, I'm through this far. You can start to see my glove. I like to try to poke my finger through. Once I have that finger, again, pressure, I'm pulling it, and you can start to see this leg take form. And this is where cutting that around that paw earlier is gonna help. So I'm gonna pull it until it kind of doesn't want to pull anymore, and then just right around where the skin meets the leg, I'm just gonna open it up, pull it, skin a little bit, pull it. And once we get down to where we cut it earlier, it's gonna pop right out. There's one leg, so let's do it again on this side. I can start to see that leg take form. So I'm coming between the leg and the pelt, hold that up, coming in until I'm through the other side, get my hand in there, pull, cut, pull, cut, and it should pop right out. So now we're getting towards the neck. And there's going to be trauma in here. I dispatched this animal with a 22 to the cranium. So we're getting to a point where there's gonna be some blood and we'll have to contend with that. That's what we're seeing on this front side here, must be where the bullet exited. So I'm gonna keep coming down around that neck and you're gonna start to see the base of the skull showing through. And on this side, this is the chin. This is really easy area to nick. So I'm just gonna go slow with just the tip of my knife and keep on separating, pressure downwards. Once I start getting to where I think, a raccoon has a short neck, so their ears are gonna show up relatively quickly. And feel with your hands, you can feel those ears there. So this is where I switch over to this cheap paring knife. I think I paid $1.70 for this, I don't know, 5 years ago. And on every animal, I get it really nice and sharp. And you can see that ear starting to poke through. I'm just gonna come through and cut straight into the cranium and pop that ear off. Skin down a little bit here. And here, I'll go a little bit further so you can kind of start to see what that ear looks like if you go too far. That right there is the ear. Come back up here on top, cut it right down. Now I'm gonna use that ear to create some of that pressure, pulling down. And I'm gonna start getting to that area where I shot this raccoon. So again, we're gonna get some of that trauma. So I wanna keep my blade close to the pelt to keep that blood on the animal. Come around to the front. Pretty soon here, once we get towards the chin, you're gonna see where it pops open, where you're actually gonna start seeing the cheeks pop open. They're right there. So we can see the teeth. On this side, same thing. Pop that cheek open, you can see the teeth. So now we have a separation. This is our chin, and we have our eyes left to do on this side. Clean this up a little bit. So now we're gonna go to our eyes. We're gonna start coming down and just go really slow with a really sharp knife, and you'll start to see it show itself. It's this little ball right here. I wanna keep my knife, I don't wanna be down here right on the pelt because you'll cut that eyelid. So I wanna just keep on cutting until I see it start to show itself. It just popped out real quick there. And then just stay really close to the skull. And that's why I use this cheap knife that I just sharpen over and over again. I can get it really sharp and I'm dragging this across bone right now. So I wouldn't want to do this with my nice knife. That eye is going to start to pop out. And then we're just going to keep on working this around till we get close to the nose. Now, whether you take the nose off first or the chin off first, doesn't really matter, but I'm actually getting my finger into the lip right there, and I'm peeling it back. I'm just working along that chin until I hit those front teeth. Boop, it'll pop right off. You can also cut this right off if you're just gonna be preparing this for the fur market, but for a wall hanger, something's kind of nice to have that chin on. Now I'm just gonna come around to the nose and just work really slowly around it until you start to see that nose show up. Once there's that little bit of a gap between the pelt and the cranium, just cut it right off. And that is how you skin a raccoon. This is really the same process for most animals, whether it's a fox or a coyote. There's little things that are different between them, but it's relatively simple. It takes a little bit of practice, but once you do a few, you'll be ripping right through them. And again, don't be afraid to wipe this down and give it another combing after. It's gonna make fleshing later easier if that pelt is nice and free of burrs. So good luck out there, and tight chains on the trap line.